Dois temas que não podem faltar de jeito nenhum no seu pitch. Fala galera, Augusto Tons aqui, investidor, anjo e mentor de startup. A análise de hoje foi realizada com uma empresa de realidade virtual. Fique agora com a análise de pitch.
Hello? Yeah, hi Augusto. How are you doing?
Hi Amit, I'm fine, and you?
Good, good. Pleasure to connect with you.
Oh, my pleasure. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about it. What I would like to do now is to go back to the presentation and talk about the most relevant topics that I see here. When I analyze the business, I consider 13 themes and 45 items that your pitch should present for me to be able to understand the business as a whole. On your presentation, there are items that are very complete, that you presented in a very detailed way, and there are items that are missing, and I'd like to make comments on the most relevant ones, just to give you an idea of how I analyze the business. I have a spreadsheet, and I identified the topics that you mentioned, and out of 45 items you included in your presentation 17, which represents 38% of the items that I like to see in the pitch. But forget about the number. Let's talk about your business itself. I want to enter in detail in 3 topics. Out of the 45 items, I'd like to highlight 3 of them that it's very important, and I believe that we can discuss right now. The most important, or one of the most important aspect and themes of your presentation is the team that will deliver the project and the financials. Those are 2 of the most critical points that I'd like to mention. There would be others that could be told, but because we are running out of time, I want to go into more details in these 2 ones. And I'd like to if you allow me to do it, I'd like to break my comments in 2. I'd like to start talking to you as a mentor, just to give you some tips on how you could improve the way that you mentioned these topics, and then I want to talk as an investor. So first, I'd like to make some comments on these 2 themes related to the financials and related to the team, and then I want to talk about your business as an investor. So talking about your presentation related to the team as a mentor, what I would suggest you to do is, you have a lot of experience in the team. It's good to see that. And one thing that I would suggest you to do, actually 2 things. The first one is very simple, which is to include pictures of the people, because it helps us to see the people behind the company. It's better. It creates more connection with the investor and with the entrepreneur and the team. So it's very easy. It's easy for you to include. And the other thing which is very relevant, and I believe that you have in your team but you didn't present, is the results that the team has already achieved. I see that this team is very experienced, but I don't know the results that they have achieved already. And it's very behind the business is the team. And one thing that you should take into account and consider is that investors are looking for people, not necessarily for business. Why? Because if you have a great team and a medium business, the great team could make it happen. If you have a great business but a poor team, it's not gonna last. So the team is very important, and it's key for you to present, and it's key for you to make it to the fullest. You need to present it as one of your main characteristics, one of your main strengths. So if you present the results that the team has brought to the market, to their companies, to the society as a whole, it will make it clear how much this team could produce and how well the team would conduct the company going forward. The other topic that I'd like to mention is the financials. The financials here is presented in blocks, let's say, because you have presented part of the financial information when you presented the market, and then when you presented the revenue model, and when you presented the solution, and when you presented the problem. So the information about the financials are separate in your deck. It's not a problem that it's separate in the topics that you presented, because they are important in the topics. However, you should have put them together in order to present the final results and the expected results of your company. You should provide to the investor a clear idea on the financials, considering number of people that will be impacted, price that you're gonna charge, total revenue that you're gonna estimate going forward in the future and in the present, what's the expenses of the business right now and what would be in the future, your cost as a master franchiser. Okay, so you need to consider your cost, and you should consider the guy that will buy the franchise, that will buy and create a store. So all those numbers, they need to be connected, and they need to be visually easy to understand and to follow, because it will facilitate the decision. It will make it easier to make a decision. During your presentation, I needed to build in my mind the numbers and to make the math by my own. You should have provided this information in an easier way for me to analyze. And an additional aspect that I want to comment is that you mentioned the cost of acquisition, cost of customer acquisition, and this is an important number to present. And if it's aligned with your go-to-market strategy, aligned in a sense of presenting, it's easier for the investor to analyze how much it would cost for you to bring a customer to your company and how much are you gonna make with them. So you need to present how are you gonna bring this customer, how much it would cost, and what's the lifetime value of this customer for your company. And those information will provide me a better sense of your business going forward for making a decision.
Okay.
Does it make sense, Amit?
It does. Yes, it does.
Do you believe that if you could structure this information in a better way, would be easier for me to take a decision or to make a decision?
Augusto, for the financials that you're looking at, which is the present and the projected scores, I have a spreadsheet with me, which I will share with you in some time. So I think that will provide you in-depth idea as to what are the engagement with per customer, what is the time frame that the customer will get engaged, what is the value or the revenue per customer we are going to acquire from, what is the client acquisition cost, what is the center running cost, what are my OPEX, what is the tax structure, and finally, what net revenue are we going to generate from every center. So I already have a dedicated Excel sheet with me with all these details. I'll forward it to you. You can go through it and do let me know if there is something missing inside or something I need to add to. But as far as my understanding goes, we have covered all the aspects.
Good, which is very good. And as a mentor, I would suggest to you to include all those information in a summary, in a short form, instead of sending me the whole spreadsheet. If you put together and make it clear in a good flow for me to follow the presentation, that would would reduce my time of analyzing the business. And one thing that you need to consider is that the investors would analyze a lot of companies by day, by week, by month. You need to create a connection with them. You need to make a mark on their minds. You don't want them to wait for another meeting to see a more detailed information to have an idea if the business is good or not. You need to provide this information right away, because you might not have a second chance. Just keeping in mind going forward. So those would be the comments related to your pitch and your deck. Talking as a mentor. Talking as an investor. What I would say is the comments are correlated, but what I was expecting to see was a clear view of if the business is feasible and has the capacity to return my investment in what multiple and what number, which right now I don't have this view. as you mentioned,
Okay.
it's good that you mentioned that you have this number to present, because I can give you and provide you a second chance. But if I have only the opportunity to take a look on your pitch deck one time, and just this time, I would say no, because I wouldn't have all the information that I would require. However, because I'm not that strict and I'm not gonna stop our conversation because of this lack of information,
Okay.
I won't say no, but I won't say yes due to the fact that there are information missing. I believe that you are competing globally. So another aspect that I want to see in your business more deeper would be the global competition, because I believe that it affects your market, even being the first and probably being alone in this market in India. I think this is one worry that I would have as an investor, and I think it's a good topic for you to investigate a little bit better. And there's a better way to present this information than the way that you presented, which was only in bullet points. But I think in general, all those topics, the general topics that I mentioned, are the most critical. There are others that I could have talked today, but we won't have time to go through all of them. So one thing that I want to mention is that I believe that you have a market. I believe that you are in a business that has a good potential going forward. I believe that you are an entrepreneur that is seeking for achieving good results, that have a vision, and that has a team that seems to be able to bring the company to the next level. So talk to you soon, Amit. Bye bye.
Yeah, bye.
Esta foi a análise realizada em que falamos dos dois principais pontos que não podem faltar de jeito nenhum num pitch do empreendedor. Caso você tenha gostado, deixe seu like. Se você acha que esse vídeo vai servir para alguém que você conheça, fique à vontade em compartilhar. Se você quiser ficar por dentro dos próximos vídeos que eu vou produzir, é só me seguir nas redes sociais e acompanhe as novidades. Toda semana tem conteúdo novo para você aproveitar, para você se desenvolver e para você levar a sua startup e o seu pitch para o próximo nível. Fique ligado nas minhas redes sociais e se inscreva no meu canal do YouTube, que vai estar aqui no primeiro comentário deste vídeo, para ver o vídeo completo do empreendedor realizado antes dessa análise. Basta continuar assistindo esse vídeo. E até a próxima.
All right. So, as it says, we provide world tour and all India tour at selected tourist destinations. So, what we intend to do moving ahead, we already have a permanent center based out of SL World, which is India's biggest amusement park. And now we intend to take, or rather expand our reach to multiple tourist destinations in India with similar centers.
Okay.
Augusto, are you there?
Yes, I'm
All
here.
right. Now, just to give you a brief, even before I take up the vision, is how we formed the company and the reason behind forming this company in the first place.
Okay.
So, since skydiving was banned till 2013 till date, it is there's a blanket ban put by Government of India for skydiving for civilians. And we wanted to take advantage of that situation and make sure that youngsters and teenagers in India would get an opportunity to at least experience VR skydiving or probably indoor skydiving, if not the real thing.
Mm-hmm.
So in 2015, once we formed the company, we designed, developed, and manufactured India's first skydiving simulator. And apart from the stimulator, we also got the entire content made for the VR 360 program that we have.
So you bought the system. You didn't create it with the development in-house.
No, we developed the content in-house.
Ah, okay.
And the stimulator as well.
Okay.
Right. And initially, because the product was very new to the Indian market, we wanted to travel to multiple cities and understand whether the product is going to be acceptable in the first place. And if yes, then what would be the right ticket price to attract maximum crowd, or rather, appealing for the masses itself. So we traveled almost 8 to 10 cities in India with big brands like Fast Track, Skybags, Tata Motors. So these are big corporates with whom the entire event was sponsored. And we were providing our services to youth festivals, corporate events, music festivals. And the experience was free for everyone. Okay. Since we were already getting paid by these corporate brands. Now, once we did the first exercise of understanding the feasibility of the product, we then shifted our focus that we should have a permanent setup in a location where your client acquisition cost and your marketing campaign cost should be minimum. Or rather, in other words, a place where I would have ready-made footfall of my clients or my direct clients, which is kids, teenagers, or even parents at some given point of time. Initially, we were of the mindset that we will start with major malls in India. But however, after the entire boom of online shopping that has taken place, nowadays malls haven't been doing that kind of good business. So we shifted our focus onto amusement parks and adventure parks, where ideally a family or friends would go and they would have large amount of budget to spend over there for the entire day. And that's how we initially tied up with SL World. That was way back in 2017. And this is the third year that we are going very strong with them. We have added a lot of experiences to our kitty. The center has grown almost 3x now. And we want to implement a similar program in other cities as well, moving forward. Now, coming back to the first page of the pitch itself, like it rightly says, we are looking to provide international as well as domestic experiences to tourists in VR, primarily because as we understand, about 60 to 65% in India out of the entire population is living a very mediocre life, or they don't have a very lavish lifestyle. And this is the major chunk that we need to service because it's volume business again. And we have priced that ticket in a way where it is economical, feasible, and also at the same time providing a unique experience to this masses as such.
Okay, which slide are you right now?
I'm sorry?
Which slide we are?
Lens? You're asking me the lens?
No, which slide?
Which is light?
Yes. Which page?
I'm on the vision page now.
Okay.
All right. So the second point goes as creating content. So the entire content that has been developed, whether it is skydiving, whether it is whitewater rafting, or it is ziplining, or any other extreme sports, we have developed the entire content by ourselves. And that's what makes us stand apart from the rest of the guys who are providing VR services here in India.
Mm-hmm.
Coming back to extreme sports, currently we do not have any kind of competition as such, a direct competitor in India for extreme sports in VR. So we are currently enjoying the monopoly in this line of business. Also, what we get to see in India is extreme sports like mountaineering, whitewater rafting, zip lining, paragliding. These sports, every now and then we hear in newspaper about the end user or the customer being physically hurt or has got physically damaged for lifetime, or even at times we hear people losing their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And the main reason, safety norms are not being followed by the operators as given by the guidelines. So we wanted to ensure that extreme sports, we provide a similar experience in VR and make it a 100% safe and secured environment for the end user. So we must have flown almost about 150,000 people as of yet in our VR skydiving simulator, and we haven't come across a single incident as of yet. So our safety norms are pretty strong. Again, when it comes to extreme sports, there are a lot of challenges in terms of age factor, in terms of height, weight, and even fear at times. So we have eliminated all these factors, and in fact, our skydiving, ziplining, whitewater rafting, all these VR activities start from 6 years and above itself. So it's not only teenagers that we are servicing. We are looking at kids, school kids, college-going kids, teenagers, parents, and even grandparents. So it's a very holistic experience that we intend to give. Because most of amusement park or gaming arena, when you go, if you're going with your kid is engaged playing the games or with the activities over there. However, the parents has to wait out probably half an hour or 1 hour, and they're ideally doing nothing because there's nothing that is going to get them engaged on.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to service anyone who's coming to my doorstep. There's something for everyone. So whether it's a parent, it's a kid, it's a teenager, the kind of package that we have or the kind of variety of experiences that we have, it suits all age groups. So that's one plus that we have on our side.
Okay.
All right, moving on to the next page, which is the problem. So obviously, as we understand, if we are looking at consumers who are coming from a middle class family, who are not very well to do, so traveling in terms of international travel becomes a big challenge for them in terms of flight ticket, visa, accommodation, food. So we said if we can provide a similar experience of tourism in VR, for example, sitting in India itself, if I can show you the lion safari in Africa for a mere $2.
Mm-hmm.
So it is again something which is a very exciting experience itself of you actually visiting a live lion safari in Africa without leaving your country,
Mm-hmm.
or without leaving your city. So one way, what we're trying to do here is trying to minimize the expenses that a person would incur while traveling to international destinations. A high cost of accommodation and food is again eliminated because we are giving the same experience in that end user or the customer city itself. So his travel and the expenses related to the entire activity is mere not even 0.1% as compared to the actual one. Again, there are cities where it's a seasonal travel time. You cannot visit the place throughout the year. So we have eliminated that factor that whether be it on season or off season, we can still take you to that particular location of your choice and give you the same experience. For example, walking on 5th Street Avenue at New York City, or Leaning Tower of Pisa, or the Lion Safari that we're talking about in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, when we're talking about a Lion Safari, obviously the end user has to travel all the way to Africa to go and witness the safari. But out here, we can provide the experience, like I said, in their own city itself. So it's at a minimal cost, and also as far as the extreme sports are concerned, like I told you earlier, we follow the safety norms, which are the guidelines that are provided by the government of India very strictly, and ensure that each and every customer that comes to our doorstep is given the same service and the quality of safety has been followed.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now moving on to the target market and opportunity. Like we discussed earlier, about 72% of the total Indians have never traveled abroad. In fact, about 55% have never even taken a flight. So we are looking at this market now where, the families or individuals who cannot afford or who do not fall in that income bracket where they can afford to travel abroad. So we will service these people through our VR program and tourism. Subsequently, again, when it comes down to extreme sports, these sports, again, are high in adrenal, high risk for life, and also very expensive. For example, a skydiving experience in Dubai would cost you nearly about 700 to 800 USD.
Mm-hmm.
Now we give them the same experience of you jumping out of the plane at Fly Dubai over the Palm Jumeirah for a mere $3.
Okay.
And in terms of the population itself, the youth population forms about 35% of the total population in India. So these are our prime customers because they are young, they want to do something radical, something different. And now that VR is in a very growing stage right now in India, where training, practice, conferences, most of these activities are now been done in AR and VR. So the market is looking at a large exposure from both these technologies.
Mm-hmm.
Now, coming back to tourist destinations, we would also provide, a more of an edutainment center where kids and parents can take back some kind of education and some kind of entertainment after they have gone through our program. So it's not purely either gaming based, or it is not just you sit back and just look at a video for 2 to 5 minutes and that's about it. There is obviously a factor where the end user or the customer is going to get some kind of education from all these programs that we provide. So it's not only, for example, if I'm showing you a video of the lion safari in Africa, obviously I'm discussing the location where these lions are, some history about the lions, some knowledge that we are imparting away in terms of animals, in terms of their lifestyle and behavior. So this is something that a person takes back as value.
Okay.
Now, in terms of sports, India has been showing great positive results in terms of sports education and training. And that's a second part that we are going to approach, coaching classes, since India is really fanatic about cricket.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's one of the major sports being played here in India. So training in cricket is something that we are going to impart, apart from which football again or soccer again is catching up really well in Indian market. So we intend to not only provide a VR gaming experience, for example, VR cricket, but we also intend to provide the training to the customer or the end user who has come to our doorstep in what kind of footwork has to be used, how the movement of the bat has to happen, eye and ball coordination, bat and ball coordination, the direction of the way the bat has been used, the angle of the bat. Now, these are technical terms that we can impart training on, instead of the person going live and playing at a stadium or playing live at a ground and paying a premium price for it. So, with the sport itself, we can impart training simultaneously at the same time. All right, moving on to the solution part of it. Like we discussed earlier, we are looking to primarily in tourist destinations. So we already have good footfall of people there, and all we need to do is convert those footfalls into customers. Again, like I stated earlier regarding the safety and security. So from 6 years and above is where we start from, and like I rightly said, 150,000 users till date, with not even a single person with injury. So again, in terms of expansion to multiple cities, we are not only approaching cell phone centers at tourist destinations, but we are also primarily looking to expand our program through the franchisee model as well. So we are looking ideally at tier 2 and tier 3 cities, where TV is the only entertainment form, and we want to change that and bring in the VR experience to these cities under a franchisee model. And we are already in talks with a couple of cities as of now, and most tentatively by mid of October is where we intend to close the deal with these guys. Like I said earlier, that the cost of the extreme sports or even the VR Gold Tour as such is just about mere 2 to 5% of the actual activity or the original cost of traveling to the said destination. So that's a big plus for us, primarily for third world countries like Africa, part of Southeast Asia, India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka. Now these are countries where these programs will appeal for the masses.
Okay.
All right, now moving on to the product list now. So in terms of aero sports, we have skydiving, paragliding, ziplining, flight simulator, space station. And apart from the aero sports, in terms of extreme sports itself, we have also added whitewater rafting, we added ziplining as well. So these are some of the sports that the experience of VR experience that we are providing. Again, coming back to VR tourism, India being a very religious country and a secular country having a mixture of all religions, whether it is Hindus, Muslims, Catholics, Jews. So we have a mixture of all religions here, and we are very religious people when it comes to faith. So, for us Indians, for Hindus, there are these 4 dedicated locations in India that before a person dies out of old age, mandatory he has to visit those 4 places. It is called Char Dham in Hindi. Like for Muslims, it is going to the Mecca.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So what we intend to do here is, for example, today if I am a 65 or 60 plus year old person who obviously is not a earning member, and I do not have sufficient funds, or I am not physically capable of going to these places, then we can provide that religious based experience in our VR tourism concept that we have.
Okay.
Apart from that, obviously the seven wonders of the world monuments, tourist destinations,
Mm-hmm.
Local domestic destinations which are of which are having tourist attractions, which are having historical importance to these places, religious importance. Now these are the kind of locations that we want to portray, or rather reflect in our VR program, which is purely designed for the elderly class, which is 50 years and above.
Mm-hmm.
Because as we understand, at that age, you would not engage in a zombie shooting or a roller coaster ride. You would rather go for something which is subtle, which is matching your thought process, and which is something that you would like to do.
Okay.
All right, now moving to the revenue and business model. So currently we have already operational at one center in Mumbai itself at SL World, and subsequently we are in talks with a company called Sky Jumpers, which is having about 4 large, or rather super large trampoline park setups in 4 cities in India. So we have already put forth the proposal of providing our VR activities along with the trampoline park, and in the next day or 2 we would be sharing the MOU, and probably by end of this month itself we'll implement the program in one of the centers to begin with.
Okay.
All right. Now, as far as revenue generation is concerned, we are roughly generating about 60,000 USD from our one center, which is based at SL World. And again, we are running at we are calculating the revenue only based on 30% of the operations, because usually at amusement parks, Monday to Thursday are usually considered as low days.
Mm-hmm.
And weekends and public days are where you get large footfalls compared to weekdays. So ideally, if you ask me in terms of numbers, SL World on a Friday, given Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or a public holiday, we have anywhere between 5,000 to 7,000 people walking in. And on weekdays, it is anywhere between 1,500 to 2,000.
Okay.
So, like I said earlier, apart from the cell phone centers, we are also looking to start the franchisee model, which would roughly cost the franchisor 20 lakhs is 7 3 is about 300,000 USD.
Okay.
For the entire, and subsequently we'll also charge them a royalty of 15% on gross earnings,
Which is estimated to be?
So again, when we're talking about 2-tier and 3-tier cities, we are looking at roughly of a monthly business of bare minimum of about 20,000 USD.
How much?
20,000 per month.
20,000. Okay.
Yeah.
And with an estimated profit?
I'm sorry?
With an estimated profit or EBITDA of? Do you have this
Right.
number?
So estimated profit would 22% of your total revenue would be your OPEX cost.
What's the percentage
Less
that you
GST, which is at
mentioned?
22%.
20.
22, yeah. Would be your OPEX cost.
22. Okay, so if you have revenue of 60, no, 20, right? 20,000 per
20.
month. And then you
So
have
that's about 4,000 USD.
Yeah, 4,000. So you have a payback.
4,000 OPEX.
You have a payback of 300 divided by
15%.
4. It's a lot.
Yes, it is.
So the payback would be, if it was 28, is 70 months. So it's more than 5 years. It's almost 6 years for a franchise owner. It seems a lot. I'm not sure in India
No, so
what is the typical franchise payback, but in Brazil it's way below that. Do you have an idea of the franchise typical payback in India?
no, your voice is cracking. I couldn't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, tell me.
Okay, so do you have an idea of a typical franchise payback in India?
So ideally, the franchising models that we have over here for food and gaming, they have returns almost up to 35 to 37%
And in terms
year
of,
on year.
and how about payback?
You mean in terms of royalty?
I mean in terms of franchise owner, the owner of a store.
Right.
He needs or she needs to invest, in your case, $300,000.
Right.
How long would that take for him or she or her to have her money back in terms of number of years?
So it will roughly be about 2.5 years.
2.5. But in your case,
Yep.
with the numbers that you provided, it's almost 6. Is that correct?
Wait, just let me just check here once again.
Yeah, because you mentioned $2,000. No, $4,000 per month, more or less.
20,000 USD. Right.
20,000 is the revenue, and the profit would be 4.
All right. So I think I messed up on the valuation there. It is it's 20 lakh rupees Indian currency. That comes to roughly about 30,000 USD, not 300,000.
Okay. Now it's better.
Right. So roughly the person or the franchise owner would break even anywhere between 1.5 to 2 years.
Okay.
At 30% operations itself, because we have a capacity of, say, for example, we have a capacity of flying 200 people but it is understood that we will not have 200 people coming in every day.
Yeah, definitely not.
So we said, let's calculate a very bottom line of 30% itself. So that's the number that we have derived at 30%. That okay, at 30% also by 2.5 years at the most, he would break even. He or she would break even.
It would be the payback. Okay, understood.
Right. And the model itself is for 5 years.
Sorry?
The franchisee model that we have is for 5 years. So we'll make sure that the franchisee owner makes enough money with us and then goes and even extends the contract for another additional 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
Right, so revenue is done. Again, we are also in talks with Sri Lanka Tourism to start a major center in Colombo in Sri Lanka. As we understand, Sri Lanka is a tourist destination, and we can provide an experience of AR and VR not only to the tourist but also to the local people itself.
Okay.
All right. Apart from that, obviously, like I rightly said, we are looking at Bangladesh. We are looking at Southeast Asian countries like Thailand. We are also looking actively at Africa, Kenya, because these are underdeveloped countries, and if we can provide them an experience in VR, it will really appeal to the masses.
Okay.
Right now, apart from the franchisee model and apart from our self-owned centers, we are also looking actively to generate revenue out of corporate events, music festivals, college fest, youth fest. These keep happening almost throughout the year in India at different locations.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason being, we ideally charge these guys roughly about 15 to 17,000 USD per day as rental charges. So that shoots up our revenue in a big way.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Apart from that, talking about traction and roadmap, as we discussed, we currently have one successful center at SL World, serving kids, teenagers, parents of various tourist education activities. And right now, if you ask me the gaming experience in India, with companies like Smash, Time Zone, which is an Australian company, these companies are still providing the experience of arcade gaming to kids, which is now getting obsolete, and in fact, in coming 2 to 3 years, it is going to be outdated.
Mm-hmm.
Then the focus is going to move on, obviously, to new technologies like AR and VR, where it's not only the gaming experience, but the entire visual experience also is going to be very different, and the engagement level is going to be very different.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I discussed earlier, we have done large events like Sunburn, which is a music festival for the youth. Kids World, which is one of the most successful running kids exhibition, which runs in multiple cities in India from the last 23 years. And we are also looking at carnival parades in Isilwood itself, where we can serve roughly up to 1,500 to 2,000 people in a day's time. Again, not only we are looking at tourist destinations, but we are also open to resort owners. We are also open to adventure parks. We are also open to any other location where we have good amount of footfalls happening. So we are open to tying up with anyone and everyone. And right now, we have a tie-up with SL World in a way where it is a win-win for both the parties. Considering the fact that real estate prices in Mumbai itself are pretty high, and SL World being one of the biggest brands, we couldn't even think about getting the place on lease from them, because that would be an added burden to our OPEX. And eventually, in case we were not able to churn out business, it would start burning our pockets. So we say that if you want to make it a win-win, we will work on a revenue sharing model. So currently at SL World, since they are providing us the entire footfall, the premises, and the power, we are selling out about 35% of the total revenue to them, and 65% goes to VFly.
Okay.
All right. Now we intend to do a similar program with other vendors as well. Primarily because we don't want to start an isolated center in a new town where we do not know the spending habits of people, or we do not know where people usually go during the weekends, the locals I'm talking about. So for these people, we want to put up our center in a place which has already created a brand value there, or which is already famous, and people usually visit those places. Ideally for a tier 2 or tier 3 city, yes, we might go for a mall installation, because in a tier 3 city, there's hardly, the entire city might hardly have about 1 or 2 malls. Unlike the metro, where we have malls every 5 kilometers, there's a mall.
Mm-hmm.
So tier 2, tier 3 cities, we will focus on malls or on amusement parks, because amusement park is something which is widespread in India. Every town, every city has got some kind of amusement park with them, whether it's a small one or a large one.
Okay.
Okay, now I think we are done with traction. Okay. Okay, now moving on to the team. So obviously this is Amit Patel, who is also called the Superman. I'm basically CEO and founder of this company, or in fact co-founder of this company with Vaibhav Jain. And Vaibhav is based out of Dubai, and he is primarily inclined towards diamond and bullion business. And I had met Vaibhav way back in 2013 during my visit there. And we shared the common interest of adventure sports, both of us. So when I told him, Vaibhav, this is what I have in mind. When I go back to India, I'm going to start something like this. He said, let me join the wagon with you, and then, we can both work in as partners. So Vaibhav joined in the company by investing about 120,000 USD,
Mm-hmm.
and taking 20% in the company. And I currently hold 80% stake in this company. So as of now, the entire expenditure or the entire burnout that has happened is between the partners itself. We are bootstrapped. We haven't taken any kind of external funding as of yet.
Okay.
And the prime reason for going out for external funding now is both of us can ingest this kind of funds into the company. However, that would come in phases, because we both have our other businesses running.
Mm-hmm.
And looking for external funding is one, since we get the funding at this stage, the expansion plan that we have in mind will take place much faster, rather than me and Vaibhav investing the money, and then the plan that we have for 5 years might probably get converted to 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So at this juncture, that's one reason why we are looking for external funding. Moving ahead, Sharik is our technical head. He heads the entire technical department in terms of procuring of equipment, whether it is the VR glasses, whether it is the content, the quality of content, the development or editing of the content that we have on hands. So he heads an entire team of four of them who are primary, Unity-based gaming developers. So currently, as we speak, we are also designing a program for psychiatrists, basically under the medical head itself, wherein a person having a phobia, the phobia can be treated very well under the VR program. So we are very keenly developing that product for the Indian market itself. We had done a presentation to Indian Medical Association way back in the month of July. And at that given point of time, we had designed only one protocol of altophobia, or rather fear of heights, where a person who's suffering from phobia of heights can gradually get over his fear by using our VR program. So ideally, we would start at a very basic level of, about 7 to 8 feet off the ground elevation, and then ideally taking the person in an elevator or taking him on a wrench where he's tied up with a safety harness, and getting the fear out of him, obviously with the consultation of the doctor in a step-by-step process.
Mm-hmm.
Now, moving ahead, Sailesh Panchal, as it's rightly said, is the Iron Man. Sailesh looks after the designing, the development, and manufacturing and fabrication of all our stimulators, whether it is the skydiving stimulator, whether it's a zipline stimulator, or it's a whitewater raft stimulator. So he designs and develops the entire the metal works behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Now Sailesh again has got a team of 5 of them under him. So obviously one of them being a CAD designer who helps him, design the entire structure itself before it's put into final implementation.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to competition, yes, in terms of VR experience in skydiving, I would say iFly is in competition to us on a global scale. However, iFly as of now, or as we understand from the markets that they are currently operating from, are mostly developed countries. They do not believe in servicing their products to an underdeveloped country, primarily reason because they are pioneers in this technology. And again, the capex compared to an iFly installation is very huge. We are looking at machinery cost of 8 million and above. And then obviously the construction cost, the arena cost would add up to another $1 million or $1.5 million. So it's a huge capex business, and obviously it's a huge opex business as well, because you require professional skydivers to operate. You will require an entire ticketing staff, customer management staff. So both the capex and opex are much higher, and subsequently that would fall back on your ticket size itself. Because if I have a low price today for a product which is of high capex and opex, probably the break even I would never be able to see. It will, business wise, it would not stand feasible, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So moving down to competition in India, we are spearheading, or we are the first movers in terms of both VR extreme sports also and VR tourism as well. So currently we do not have anyone who's directly our competitor. However, there are a couple of gaming zones who are importing games from China, or experiences from China. So something like a roller coaster ride, a dinosaur park, Now, these are the kind of exposure the Indian market has got as of yet. So, our league itself is pretty different when it comes to VR and AR. Now, how we're looking at a larger picture. Now, there are certain travel and tourism companies who are looking to develop similar product which is related to our VR tourism, wherein they intend to, suppose Augusto wants to travel to, say, New York or Switzerland, for example, then even before Augusto books the ticket with the said travel agent, they would give you a glimpse of what you will actually see once you get there. So they would give you a quick tour of Switzerland in probably a 2 or 3 minute 360-degree experience. That this is what you will get to see once you get to Switzerland or you go to a particular destination. Now, until now, it has been all done in form of catalog or in form of a PPT, which ideally on a 2D model would not give you a precise or an exact idea. But in VR, it would give you a very realistic or a surreal experience as such. So this is again a big market for us when it comes to commercialization of our product. So we can approach someone like a Cox and Kings, or we can approach someone like a Thomas Cook, who are having pan-India presence. In fact, they have global presence, and we can sell this product to them either on a turnkey basis or on a royalty basis. Now, apart from VFly, obviously there are other companies working on different modules in VR, whether it is training, whether it is presentation. So there are companies who are working on different experiences in VR. However, like I rightly said, we share the monopoly right now in terms of both extreme sports and tourism. In case we do see someone, following our footpath or following our footsteps in terms of either extreme sports or in terms of tourism, since we already have a head start of roughly about 2.5 years now, we would always have the advantage of the first mover. The investment that we're looking at as of now is 1 million USD against 15% stake from the revenue generated at all 10 centers, or against 10% equity in the company stake itself. Augusto, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. Okay. So primarily about 65 to 68% of the funds are going to be diverted towards development of infrastructure, development of the stimulators, and the rest of the equipment as far as the VR goggles are concerned, the content is concerned for the new 10 centers. We anticipate marketing cost of roughly about 15 to 17% in terms of reaching out to the people in terms of client acquisition, and roughly about 20% out of the balance 20%, 10% would go purely towards developing new content, developing new stimulators, and the balance 10% is what we are going to have as reserves.
Mm-hmm.
So just give me a moment. All right. So as far as the exit is concerned, we are looking at either Series B funding, which ideally we have in a ballpark figure we have in mind of 50 million USD, or we are also looking at a merger and acquisition from a larger player like Namco from Japan, Hado from Japan again. Now these are big gaming companies who have global presence, or someone even like a Time Zone, which is an Australian-based company. So ideally, that is the exit policy that we have in mind. That either we will go for a second Series B round of funding, and we will expand our business by ourselves, or we will get merged by a larger brand, and then have our presence not only in India but also on a global scale. So that's about it, Augusto, for us.